You step through towering gilded doors into what you've been told is the most magnificent palace in all of Christendom. Marble floors gleam beneath your feet like polished ice. Candlelight bounces across walls, suffocated with silks, gold leaf, and tapestries stolen or gifted from the East. Ladies of the court glide by like ghosts, their silk gowns whispering wealth with every rustle. Jewels flash on fingers that have never scrubbed a dish nor wiped away sweat. This, you think, is the fairy tale come alive. But then you smell it not at first. It's floral. A sweet cloud of roses, ambergris, and musk. But beneath the perfume rot, a rank, cloying human stench fighting to claw its way through the floral mask. Your eyes water, your stomach lurches. And just like that, the fantasy splinters. You haven't stepped into a fairy tale. You've walked into a golden-shelled latrine-dot welcome to the real royal court of medieval and Renaissance Europe, a world where divine right excused every indecency, and hygiene was an afterthought. Beneath the silk and sapphires lurked sour breath, flaking lead paint, and lice colonies with their own court systems. Here, beauty was poison, cleanliness was heresy, and perfume wasn't luxury. It was war, 1 per ampere, monthly bath and a mask of death, asterisk. It's 1580. You're a servant in Queen Elizabeth I's palace, and you've been cursed with the most dreaded duty in England, preparing Her Majesty's monthly bath. Yes, monthly. The Virgin Queen, ruler of the world's mightiest empire, bathed once every 4 weeks, and that was considered progressive. Physicians warned her against excessive washing. Too much water, they said, might loosen the humors. 20. Men haul buckets from a firelit kitchen all night to fill a wooden tub lined with fine linen. But what awaits you is not a cleansing ritual. It's a chemical horror show. Elizabeth's skin is caked in Venetian cirrus, a deadly white lead paste she's worn daily for decades, without once removing the previous day's layer. As her robe falls, her face appears in geological layers, a brittle, cracking mask of vanity. When she finally steps into the water, the illusion peels off in sheets flakes of lead, sweat, skin, and powder turning the bath into a witch's stew. The smell? Imagine vinegar, metal, rot, and decades of accumulated filth warmed to body temperature. You stand there, gagging silently, while your queen soaks in her own toxic runoff. Her face dissolves. Her pride remains intact, too. The white death of beauty. Step closer to Elizabeth's private chambers if you dare. Her alabaster complexion? Not godliness. Lead poisoning. Her royal glow is decay in disguise. Each morning begins with her. Ladies painting fresh lead paste directly over yesterday's crust. Water is avoided. Cleanliness is dangerous, they say. So the mask grows thicker, heavier, deadlier. Her skin suffocates. Her memory frays. Her temper sharpens. Courtiers whisper about her erratic rages and sudden forgetfulness, never daring to suggest the truth. Their queen is slowly dying to appear divine. The lead seeps through her pores, causing tremors, bald patches, and hallucinations. Her teeth blacken and fall out. Her breath smells like a tomb. Yet the ritual continues, not because she's vain, but because she's trapped. The beauty standard is not fashion. It's a prison ./3. And living decay. King James I of England famously never bathed. Not once. His bed, robes, and throne crawled with lice, and when nobles visited, they left with souvenirs living ones. Lady Anne Clifford wrote of getting infested simply by sitting in a noble's chamber. The palace wasn't a place of elegance. It was a parasite-infested theater of denial. Scratching became etiquette. Wigs were breeding grounds. Entire infestations lived in powdered hairdos pinned together with beef tallow and ox fat. Women carried ornate scratching sticks, ivory claws, to discreetly relieve lice bites mid-curtsy. Diplomacy continued through gritted teeth and writhing. Scalps. Everyone itched. No one spoke of it. Power wasn't about comfort. It was about enduring public torment with a smile for the perfume arms race, with bathing taboo and lice rampant. Royalty waged their war against stench with fragrance. But perfume wasn't grace. It was desperation. Versailles, home to 10,000 nobles, reeked of human waste. People relieved themselves behind curtains, down stairwells, and even in the chapel. The stench was legendary. So came the perfume revolution scented. Gloves, perfumed fans, wax-filled jewelry, gowns with hidden sachets, and oils that soaked hair like scented grease traps. But perfume on filth doesn't cleanse. It ferments. Rose oils mixed with pus. Musk overlaid the reek of unwashed flesh. The result? A chemical soup so overpowering, visitors fainted from the air. Scents became political code. Ambergris for loyalty, civet for seduction. Patchouli too. Masked disease. Smell became status. The poor stank of their poverty. The rich stank of their perfume. Everyone stank. No one acknowledged it. /5 the groom of the stool now. Imagine this. The most powerful man in England, Henry VIII, grunting on his portable toilet, surrounded by velvet curtains and incense. And kneeling beside him? A man of unmatched political power, the groom of the stool. His job? To wipe the royal behind. With cloth. With his hands. Daily. But this wasn't humiliation. This was influence. He saw the king at his most vulnerable. He knew his diets, his illnesses, his weaknesses. He whispered in his ear while cleaning feces. He shaped policy while holding soiled linen. In a world where proximity was power, no one was closer. This man, this human toilet paper, was a political kingmaker. And sometimes he was the only soul in the kingdom who knew that the monarch's bowels were failing, or that he screamed from untreated hemorrhoids. Men competed for the job. Fathers prayed their sons would inherit it. Because in the rotting heart of monarchy, nothing was more intimate than waste, /6 power, rot, and perfumed delusion. Behind every silk curtain of royal courts lay a truth too foul to romanticize. Perfumed queens with blackened teeth. Kings who scratched lice while declaring war. Noble women drowning in lead and bile for a glimpse of perfection. Politics conducted atop chamber pots. Romance perfumed over rot. They ruled empires while decomposing alive. This is not the clean history taught in school books. This is the real royalty, filthy, tragic, grotesque, and desperate. In their pursuit of vanity, they sacrificed humanity. And the result? A legacy of power perfumed with poison. So next time you admire a portrait of a gleaming monarch, remember, what you're seeing isn't purity. It's a mask, a crust, a lie. And beneath it, something very human, very rank, and very, very real. 7. The Spanish Inquisition against soap. Now we enter the most nightmarish chapter of this olfactory opera Spain, where not only was filth tolerated, it was sanctified. Queen Isabella of Castile, hailed as a devout Christian, an architect of the Spanish Empire, lived in a world where soap was Satan's temptation, and bathing was the gateway to sin. It wasn't enough for the church to control minds. It had to invade pores. The logic was terrifyingly simple. Clean skin leads to vanity. Vanity leads to sin. Therefore, filth equals virtue. And so, in a brutal twist of religious fervor, cleanliness became heresy. Muslim and Jewish populations in Spain, traditionally fastidious about ritual washing, were targeted. After the conquest of Granada, bathhouses were razed. Soap was outlawed. Clean clothes became suspicious. Inquisitors sniffed. Laundry. Water stains could become death warrants. If your child went to school in a clean tunic, someone might report you for heresy. Those who bathed regularly were branded secret Muslims or Jews and burned alive. Public health collapsed. Epidemics spread like holy fire. And all the while, priests preached sermons on the blessed stench of salvation. They claimed the Virgin Mary had never washed her body, so why should anyone else? 8. The milk bath deception. Travel forward to the court of Hanover and witness another delusion of nobility, one that turned disease into charity. Countess Platon, riddled with late-stage syphilis, soaked her ulcerated body in fresh milk in a vain effort to cool the burning rot of her own flesh. When she was done, the milk was collected in jugs and handed out to the poor. As a gift. No one questioned it. Why would they? It was blessed milk, touched by nobility. To refuse such a donation was blasphemous. So peasant children drank it. Mothers stirred it into porridge. Husbands gave it to the sick, hoping for miracles. Instead, they got disease. It wasn't cruelty. It was ignorance veiled in virtue. The countess truly believed she was helping. Her servants said nothing. Her priest praised her generosity. The entire system conspired to convert putrescence into piety. This wasn't charity. It was biological warfare in silks and pearls. /9 / the hair whore. What's royalty without ridiculous hair? Behold the powdered towers of 18th century France wigs. So vast they brushed ceilings, so elaborate they needed scaffolding. Inside them, rot. Inside them, life, lice, fleas, ticks, and sometimes rats made their homes inside these powdered monstrosities. Bear fat or ox tallow held the shapes together, turning each hairstyle into a rotting meat sculpture swaddled in perfume. Hair was never washed, ever. It was too delicate, too sacred, too fashionable. Instead, wigs were freshened by stuffing them with more powder, more grease, more floral oil. Each layer suffocated the scalp below. Sores festered, infections spread. Women fainted from the weight. Men scratched through bloodied lace. Still, court life demanded they endure. Status was measured in inches height of hair, not depth of intellect. One duchess famously had a model battleship built into her hairdo to celebrate a naval victory. She danced while her scalp bled underneath. Servants routinely caught fevers. Tending to the heads of their mistresses. It was fashion as torture. And everyone smiled. 10. The Versailles catastrophe. Nowhere did the royal delusion rot more profoundly than in the hallowed halls of Versailles. Louis XIV, the Sun King, gathered France's elite into one splendid golden asylum. It had mirrors. It had fountains. It had music, chandeliers, ballet, and philosophy. What it didn't have was toilets. With over 10,000 nobles, servants, and sycophants crammed into a palace not built to accommodate even a tenth of that. Sanitation collapsed. People relieved themselves behind tapestries. Women urinated on staircases. Nobles emptied chamber pots from balconies. The stench was omnipresent. Human waste mixed with spilled wine, rotting food, and musky perfume to create an atmosphere so pungent, foreign visitors wrote of it with horror and promptly fainted. Marie Antoinette was once struck by airborne feces while walking the palace. Grounds. Servants skated across polished floors slick with urine. The kitchens were infested with rats, who gorged on both food and corpses. Royal children learned early to avoid certain corners. Every hallway had its own unofficial latrine zone. Fashion adapted. Voluminous skirts absorbed accidents and handkerchiefs. Were perfumed to survive royal meetings. Versailles wasn't a palace. It was a corpse sprayed with cologne. And it became the blueprint for courts across Europe. Asterisk. So, what was royal life, truly? Not the gleam of a crown or the shimmer of silk, but the sour breath of a queen dying beneath lead, the festering scalp of a duchess holding court while insects fed on her blood, the priest blessing dirty feet while condemning clean hands, the nobleman wiping royal excrement with a bow. These were not gods. They were not saints. They were human. And they were prisoners of their own illusion. The tragedy wasn't just their filth, it was their silence. They could have changed. They could have bathed. They could have admitted the truth, but they didn't. Because power, once perfumed, must never admit to stink. So the next time you see a royal portrait, don't envy the jewels or the gowns. Envy the freedom to wash your hands. Because beneath the powder, the perfume, the velvet, and the gold, they were rotting quietly, fragrantly, and with exquisite decorum.